Yes, yesterday we discussed about what is database management system, what is the need of the database management system, what are the disadvantages of file-oriented system, what are the advantages of database management system, and what are the disadvantages of database management system, and the functionalities of database management system, characteristics of database management system, and applications of database management system. Yesterday's class we discussed that. So one is who are the database administrator? Who is database administrator? We discussed yesterday class. So yesterday we discussed with you two roles and responsibilities of the database administrator in yesterday's class. So today we will continue with that. So first one is the software installation and maintenance. Database administrator must install the software in your system. Either it is SQL, Oracle, or MySQL, MS Access, or MS Excel, whatever it may be. The database administrator will install the database software in your system. In your system. Next one is the data extraction, transformation, and loading. So it is the short form of the ETL. E stands for the extraction, T stands for the transformation, and L stands for the loading. So yesterday I explained in different databases are they are integrating into the one single database, and that is called the warehouse. In our warehouse, we are storing the different types of products. So pens, papers, mobiles, laptops, like this, we can store the different types of products in our warehouse. Like that, here also the database administrator will store the different types of database, either it is Excel, Oracle, SQL, Access, whatever it may be. So you will integrate all the databases into a single database and you will store the warehouse, that is called the data warehouse. Next one is the specialized data handling. Data handling. Specialized, what is meant by the specialized data handling? So till now we discussed about the student information and the uh, employee information. So that is all the belongs to the text and the numerical data alphabets only. Alphabet, it is easy to store the numerical values and alphabet values in the database. Suppose if you want to store the employee images, employee photo, employee signature, student photo, student signature, images. Suppose if you want to store the sounds, videos, audios in your database, the images, audio, video, sounds, these are all come under specialized data handling. The database administration must and should handle these type of data to store in the database. Database. Those are the images and the sounds, audios, videos, all the files he has to handle to store in the database. Very large amount of data also he has to store in the database. That is called a specialized data handling. What is meant by the specialized data handling? Means the database administrator has to handle, store the special data. So till now we discussed about the only alphabetical values and the numerical values. Some images, audios, videos, this type of data is called the specialized data, large amount of data. It has to handle to store such type of data in the database management system. Next one is the database backup and recovery. So the database administration next functionality is the backup and recovery. So he will take the backup of that system. What is meant by the backup means he is storing the files from one system to another place. Suppose in this system you are maintaining the database. He is storing the database in some other system or within the same system in some other C colon or D colon, D colon, E colon like this. So they are copying the duplicate copy to another file or another device. That is the backup. Recovery means so if any damage occur to the database, he has to recover the data from the database. That is the recovery. So backup and recovery, the main roles and responsibility of the database administrator, data backup. So you can take the backup of your database either daily, weekly, monthly, yearly, half yearly, quarterly, like this. According to your situation, your thing, he can manage the recovery database. That is the functionality and responsibility of the database administrator. So next one is the security. So security means the database administrator will give the permissions or he will create the passwords. Passwords. Suppose in your organization you have the different types of departments, account departments, manufacturer, HR department, like this you have. So for HR department only regarding the HR tables, he will give the permission. For account department, he will give the only account tables, he will give the permission. Suppose there is a organization CEO wants to access, he can give the total entire access to the CEO. Like this, he can create the permissions, authorization, like this. Security he will provide the usernames and password to the database. Authorization means now we discuss accessibility. Particular department has to the only that tables and the entire tables that is not possible to access the particular department. And the CEO of the organization can access all the tables. That is the authorization or permissions. Security means providing the usernames and password to the particular employee. So authentication means giving the permissions. Next one is the capacity planning. So what is meant by the capacity planning here? Suppose your database capacity is 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, 3 terabytes, like this way. Suppose if it is ready to, oh, suppose if it is ready to, what is that? Memory is overlapping or it is ready to complete. So it is 1 terabyte completed the 1 terabyte. Then he has to take the database recover backup and he has to delete that data from your system and he has to free the memory. That is the capacity planning. According to your system capacity, he will plan the database to store in the database management system. Next one is the performance monitoring. So what is meant by the performance monitoring? So once database is installed in your system and created the tables according to your organization requirement and filled the data, inserted the data, all the things are settled very well. After that, while accessing the data, user. So he will maintain the monitoring the performance also. If there is a low performance, he will again boost the database to access the database perfectly. The next one is the database tuning. What is meant by the database tuning? So in database tuning means he will create the some indexes. Indexes. So if you maintain the one record, lab record, you can add one textbook, you can maintain the some index, so and so page number, so and so topic is there, so and so page number, so and so topic is there, like that. In this database management system also, he can create the some indexes. So based upon the index, you can retrieve the database very easily. Next one is the troubleshooting. If there is any problems to access the database, you can troubleshoot the entire database management system. So these are the roles and responsibility of the one particular database administrator. So what are the roles and responsibility of the one database administrator? So first one is the software installation and maintenance, data extraction, transformation, and loading. Next one is the specialized data handling, database backup and recovery, application, capacity planning, performance monitoring, database tuning, troubleshooting. So this is called the roles and responsibilities of the database administrator. We'll move to the next topic. Next, types of databases. Types of databases. So we have the various types of databases used for the storing different varieties of data. So centralized database, distributed databases, databases, NoSQL databases, relational databases, cloud databases, object-oriented databases, hierarchical databases. These types of databases we have to store the data. To store the data. What are the types of databases? Centralized database, distributed database, network database, NoSQL database, relational database, cloud database, object-oriented database, and the hierarchical database. So we'll discuss one by one. What is centralized database? What is distributed database? What is network database? What is NoSQL database? What is relational database? What is cloud database? What is object-oriented database? And what is hierarchical database? First, we will discuss about the centralized database. So, what is meant by the central? It is the one type of database to store the data. To store the data. So, it comforts the users to access the stored data from different locations through several applications. Centralized database means suppose you have the different locations in different organizations. So you are storing the all the data in the one same place. So all the location organizations are accessing the that centralized data. We using different applications. That is called the centralized database. The applications contain the authentication process to let users access data securely. An example of centralized database can be central library that carries a central database of each library in college or university. Suppose take the example of any university. Usmania University has a central library. So central library means in that library, each and every book is available. So all the departments, commerce department, management department, engineering department, civil department, computer science department, IT department, all the department can access those books from the central library. So each department has a again particular library. So in the they will retrieve the books from that library and this library also. So that is the best example for the centralized database. So some advantages are there for using the centralized database. So what are those we will discuss. It has decreased the risk of data management. That is manipulation of data will not affect the core data. So while accessing the centralized database, you have the only access viewing the data permission. You don't have any modification permission. Then the type of the data management means manipulation. Next one is the data consistency is maintained as it manages data in a central repository. So while they maintaining the data in the central repository, so the data consistency is very, very important. So maintaining the consistency of data. The next one is that it provides better data quality, which enables organizations to establish the data standards using some standards. Normally, we are following the international standard organization rules and regulations. Like that, here also some database standards following that you can maintain the better quality of data. So it is less costly because fewer vendors are required to handle the data set. So if you maintain the centralized database, you can reduce your cost. Those are the advantages of the centralized database. So next one is what are the disadvantages of the centralized databases? The size of the centralized database is large, which increases the response time for the fetching the data. So centralized database is a very large database. So while you are accessing the data, it can take the some more amount of time to fetching the data from the server. It is not easy to update such an extensive database system. Suppose if there is any mistake, if there is anything is there, if you want to update, it is not possible to the normal user. If any server failure occurs, entire data will be lost. In centralized database, if server is not working, if server is failure, entire data you will lose. These are the disadvantages of the centralized database. Next one is a distributed database. Next database is the distributed database. Unlike a centralized database system, in distributed systems, data is distributed among different database systems of an organization. These database systems are connected via communication links. Such links help the and the users access to the data easily. So, what is the difference between the centralized database and the distributed database management system? In centralized database management system, means it is located in the within the only one place. You have to access that database any place you are in any place. But distributed database system means you are distributing your database. Your database means so you are copying the your database files into the in different locations. In different locations. That is called a distributed database. Distributed database means you are distributing your database. You are keeping your database in the network. So you are copying your database files in different locations. Same database file in the different locations. That is called a distributed database management system. Distributed database management. That is the difference between the centralized database management system and the distributed. In distributed database management system, we are copying the same database files in the different locations. It will access anybody can access those distributed database management system. And in centralized database system, we are storing the data within a one place only. That is the difference between the centralized database management system and the distributed database management system. So again, distributed management system is the homogeneous and the heterogeneous. So I gave the definition for the homogeneous database management system and heterogeneous
Sir,
database
just
management
hold
system.
on 1 minute, sir. Can you can you scroll down upwards, sir? Just 1 minute. No, no, sir. The diagram only.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, sir. You can carry.
So what is meant by the homogeneous database in distributed database means these database systems which executes on the same operating systems and use the same application process and carry the same hardware devices. Homogeneous distributed database management system means if you are maintaining the 10 organizations. So in 10 organizations, the same system, same operating system, same hard disk means if you are maintaining the 1 TB or hard disk in one organization, same same memory type you can use the in different locations, same applications. That is the homogeneous. Heterogeneous means different applications, different procedures. In one organization, you can maintain the Linux. In another, organization, you can maintain the Windows operating system. Windows 10, like this, different types of operating system, different applications. That is called the heterogeneous distributed database management system. The next one is the relational database. So, what is meant by the relational database? So, in your syllabus, you have the relational database management system. In this relational database management system, we can maintain the relations between the tables. So, relational database management system and the database management system. What is the difference between the database management system and the relational database management system? In database management system, just we can store the data in the form of tables. We cannot maintain the relation between the tables. In database management system, just we can store the data in the form of tables. We cannot maintain any relation between the tables. But in relational database management system, we can store the data in the form of tables and we can maintain the relation between the any two tables. Any two tables using primary key and foreign key. We will discuss what is primary key, what is foreign key in next classes. So in relational database management system, we have to follow the must and should the ACID properties, atomicity, consistency, and the isolation and the durability. Durability. See here, ACID A means the atomicity. This ensures the data operation will complete either with the success or with the failure. It follows all or nothing strategy. For example, a transaction will either be committed or will abort. So atomicity means if you are doing the any transaction, any operation on the database. Suppose if you are transferring the money one account to another account, either it is successfully completed or not completed. So there is no partially executed, non-partially executed like this. So either it is successfully executed or not. That is called the atomicity. So once again, listen. Atomicity means if you are doing the any operation on the database, that operation is either successfully completed or failure. Only two states are there. That is called the atomicity. Next, C means the consistency. If we perform any operation over the data, its value before and after the operation should be preserved. So we have to maintain the consistency. See, I will give the best example. Suppose if you are transferring the some amount from one account to another account. In A's account, you have the 1,000 rupees. In B's account, you have the 500 rupees. From A account to B account, you are transferring money 500. 500. After operation successfully completed, so how much amount we have to the database has to maintain in the A? In the A's account, it has to show the 500. In the B's account, it has to show the 1,000. That is the consistency. Consistency means we have maintained the database consistency. Next one is the I. I means the isolation. I stands for the isolation. What it means by the isolation? There can be concurrent users of accessing data at the same time from the database. The isolation between data should remain. For example, when multiple transactions occur at the same time, one transaction effects should not to the other transaction. What is meant by the isolation? Now I will give the best example, then you can understand what is isolation. There is an ATM. So many ATMs are there for SBI and ICICI Bank. So at a time, so many persons are accessing the ATM. So many persons are drawing the money. So many persons are depositing the money. Then each transaction does not conflict with other. Each transaction does not conflict with other. That is called the isolation. At a time, so many transactions are doing. Somebody depositing the money, somebody withdrawing the money, somebody checking the balance, somebody changing the PIN number, somebody checking the balance like this. At the same time, no transaction conflict with each other. No transaction not conflict with each other. Each and every transaction has to successfully executed individually. No transaction will not conflict with each other. That is called the isolation. That is called the isolation. So next one is the durability. So what is meant by the durability? This stands for the durability. It it ensures that once it completes the operation and commits the data, that data changes should remain permanent. Durability means it will store the database permanently. Data, whatever you change whatever you perform the operations on the database, those changes, operations, it will store the permanently on the database. Yes, who is that person? Can I leave from the meeting? You are not a LKG or UKG 10th class student or intermediate student, right? Who is Lalita? You are all matured people, right? It's not fair to you. Who is that Lalita? So these are the acid properties. Yesterday also I said acid properties we will discuss in tomorrow's class, said like that. See, atomicity, consistency, isolation, and the durability. So RDBMS will follow the acid properties. Acid properties, for example, is the MySQL, Microsoft SQL, Oracle, etc. These are all come under the relational database. It was invented in the 1970. It was introduced in the 1970. So these are the meaning of the acid. This is very, very important acid properties. If you want to attend any interview and give the RDBMS, definitely they will ask what are the acid properties. Please give the explanation like this. This is very, very important for the short questions also. Next one is the NoSQL database. NoSQL and non-SQL, not SQL, both are all are the same. Non-SQL, NoSQL, not SQL are it is also one type of database. So what is the purpose of this one means? So using this, you can store a large data, huge amount of data, huge
Hello,
amount
sir.
of data.
Sir, sir,
Yes, tell me.
I'm extremely sorry, sir. By mistake, Papa వచ్చేసింది, sir.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, sir. I'm extremely sorry, sir.
So no problem.
Thank you, sir.
So non-SQL and not SQL or no SQL all are the same. So is the type of database. It is a one type of database. Using this, you can store the huge amount of data sets. It is not relational database as it stores data not only in the tabular form but in the several different ways. So in NoSQL database, not only in tabular forms, you can store in different ways. In different ways, you can store. Suppose if you want to store one image, it will store the image in the matrix format. I think you have an idea about the matrices. You learned in the 10th class about matrices. So it will store in the form of the matrices, images, in the videos, audios in different formats. For that purpose, we can use the NoSQL database. So you can further divide the NoSQL database in the following four types again: key value storage, document oriented database, graph database, and the wide column stores. Again, these are the NoSQL database types: key value storage, document oriented database, and graph database, wide column stores. See, what is meant by the key value storage? It is the simplest type of database storage where it stores every single item is a key holding its value together. Suppose if you want to store any value, you can give the one index that is called the key value. That is called the key value. Next one is the document oriented database means if you want to store any documents. What are the documents? Either Excel file or Access file or Word file or TXT notepad. Like these files you can store in the document oriented database. Next one is the graph databases. So you can use the networking websites graph database. You can store the large amount of graphs like structure, most commonly used social networking websites. This type of data graphs you can store in the graph databases. Next one is the wide column stores. What is meant by the wide column stores? It is similar to the data represented in a relational database. Here data is stored in large columns together instead of storing in rows. So here there is no rows. We can store the all data in the columns only, in the column wise only. That's why it is called the wide column stores. So here are some advantages and advantages of the NoSQL database. So what are the NoSQL databases? It enables good productivity in the application development and it is required to store the data in a structured format. So using NoSQL, no need to give the one structure for a particular database. You can store the data in any format, in any structure, then you can access the database. It is a better option of managing and handling the large data sets. So NoSQL is the one type of better option to managing the huge amount of data, large data sets. It provides high scalability, means it will give the high security, high productivity. So next one, users can quickly access data from the database to the key value. Key value means you can give the any index. Using index, you can access here key nothing but an index. Using that index, you can easily access the data. So this is the about the NoSQL database. Next one is the cloud database. So what is meant by the cloud database? It is also one type of database. So we can store. So nowadays it is very popular cloud database. We can store the data in the cloud computing platform. So who are using the nowadays? See, Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure. So persons are all Google Code, SQL, etc. So persons are using the cloud computing. Using this data, you can store your database in the cloud computing. So it is very important nowadays. So what is the difference between the cloud database and the normal database? In cloud database, we have the large amount of space to store the data, large amount of memory, or large amount of space to store the data. Next one is the object-oriented database. So what is meant by the object-oriented database means? I think you have the idea about the object-oriented programming with C++ or with Java. So in object-oriented programming, everything is you can access using the object. So you have some classes. For that classes, you have to create the object. Using those objects, you can access the class things. Here also, you can create the one database. For that database, you can create the one object. Using that object, you can access the database value, say the table or one particular row, particular column using the object only. So that is called the object-oriented database. Next one is the hierarchical database. So in what is meant by the hierarchical database? In hierarchical database, we can store the data in the form of the hierarchical. So what is the hierarchy of a college? Principal, vice principal, HOD. Next one is the stream in charges. After then faculty, after then students. Like this, we have the some hierarchy. Like that, here also we can maintain the some hierarchy in the database. Some hierarchy in the database. So like this, see here, root, level 1, level 2, again level 1.1, 1.2. Like this, we have the hierarchical. We can show the hierarchical database. Next one is the network databases. What is meant by the network databases? It is the one type of database. So it follows the network data model. So representation of data is in the form of nodes connected via links between them. So what is meant by the network database here? So here we can use the some nodes. Using those nodes, you can connect via internet. Via internet, you can connect your database through the internet. That is known as the network database. Using some nodes connected via some links. Why? Suppose see here, you are maintaining the one database in another place, one database in another place. Like this, you have a 2-3 database in 2-3 places. Using some routers or whatever it may be nodes, you can connect with them using some link through the internet. Such type of database is called the network databases. Next one is the personal database. Collecting the storing and on the user system depends the personal database. This database is basically designed for a single user. Suppose if you want to store the any details, your personal details or your any details, just simply you can use the Excel sheet. That is called the personal database. These are the some advantages of the personal database. It is simple and easy to handle. It occupies the less storage space and it is small in size. Next one is the operational database. So what is meant by the operational database? This is also one type of database management system. So which creates and updates the database in the real time. It is basically designed for executing, handling the daily data operations in several businesses. For example, an organization uses the operational database for managing for their transactions. So where we can use these operational databases? Continuous data for the purpose of continuous data. Suppose if anybody wants to measure the wind, wind and temperature. So temperature and wind, it will change the each and every minute, each and every second. So for previous minute, how much temperature, for how much wind in the speed of, like this, you can maintain the operational database. Or one big organization is there, how many transactions it is doing per day, how many purchases it is doing per day, how many sales it is doing per day. You can use the operational database like that only. Next one is the enterprise database for large organizations. If you want to maintain the large organizations means, suppose if you take the Accenture is a large data organization. So it has so many branches in the throughout the worldwide. So such type of organization will maintain the database. So the such type of databases are called a enterprise database, means large database. So what are the advantages of the enterprise databases? These are the advantages. Multi-processes are supportable over the enterprise database. It allows the executing parallel queries on the system. So these are the types of databases. What are the types of databases? Once again, centralized database, distributed database, NoSQL database, cloud database, relational database, network database, object-oriented database, and the hierarchical database. From this, I explained some more also. Operational database, personal database, and enterprise database. We will discuss about the architecture of the database. Architecture of the database, or three-level architecture of the database, or architecture of the database, both are same. Listen, they will ask, explain about the three-level architecture of the database management system, or explain about the architecture of the database management system. First of all, what is meant by the architecture? What is meant by the architecture? Suppose if you want to build one building, you need the blueprint of that building. That is called the architecture, right? Like that, if you want to build a database management system, you need the one blueprint of that database management system. That is called the architecture. That is called the architecture. See, we will discuss what is the architecture of the database management. Data is actually stored as bits or numbers and strings in the database storage. It is very difficult to work with the data at this level. So it is necessary to view the data at different levels. Abstraction. See, if you want to store any data in the database or in anywhere in the hard disk or whatever may be, the hardware will store the data in the form of bits, ones and zeros. It will not understand our language, and we are unable to understand that binary language. So there is a mediator between the human being and the hardware. That mediator is called the operating system. Operating system will convert the high-level language into the low-level language, and low-level language into the high-level language. Say, in this we have the three levels are there: physical level, conceptual level, and external. So now we will discuss what is physical, what is meant by the physical level, what is meant by the conceptual level, what is meant by the external level. We will discuss now. So this is the diagram for the architecture of the database management system. So in external level, we have, these are all the end users or viewers. In the conceptual level, we have the conceptual schema, conceptual internal mapping, and in the physical level, this is also called the internal schema and database three-level architecture. We will discuss in depth. Next, this is the physical level. Physical level means it is the low level. Low level means it will handle the hardware. Physical level will handle the hardware. hardware. It is also known as the internal level. So this physical level will convert our human level language into the binary level language or low level language. Again, it will receive the response from the hardware in the form of the binary level, and again it will convert that binary level into the uh, human level language, high level language. So physical level describes the physical storage structure of the data in the database. It is also known as the internal level. This level is very close to physical storage data means. So this is very close to the hardware. This is the lowest level. At highest level, it can be viewed as the files. So in lowest level, the database we are seeing in the form of zeros and ones. In the highest level, you can see the in the form of the files. Next, the conceptual level. So this is very important in the database. This is very important in the database. So what is meant by the conceptual level? It describes the structure of the whole database. How many users are using your database? How many usernames and passwords are there in the database? How many tables are there in the database? So how many files are in your tables? How many rows a particular table contains? How many columns particular table contains? Like this, each and everything it will describe. So it is also called the data model. It is also called the data model. So conceptual schema is a representation of the entire content of the database, whatever I said. So is there any groups? Is there any particular departments are there? Is there any particular organization? How many tables are there? How many rows are there? Which type of data was storing, either text data or numerical data or graphical data, either images or audio, video. This type of entire data description it will provide conceptual level. In conceptual level, entire description of database it will provide. Any keys are you are maintaining, any indexes are you are maintaining, any protection are you are accessing, any authorization, any security levels, such type of data it will provide. That is the conceptual level. Conceptual level. Next one is the external level. External means so it is close to the applications. Application means whatever we are accessing the data, whatever we are entering the data, that is called the application level. That is called the external level. Whatever users, it is close to the users. It will receive the information from the user and it will process that information to conceptual level to physical level, and it will receive the level physical level from the external level, and it will use the to the user. That is the functionality of the external level. External, see, this level is closest to the user. So this is the architecture of the database management system, or three levels of data architecture of the database management system: physical level, conceptual level, and the external level. In external level, all are the users and the applications. In conceptual level, so it will display the description or structure of the database. In the physical level, it is handled with the hardware. It will handle with the hardware. This is the architecture of the database management system. Next one is the ER model. What is meant by the ER model? ER model stands for the entity relationship model. Entity relationship model. See, till now we discussed the database. What is meant by the database? Database is nothing but to arranging the data in a proper way in the form of the tables. We are storing the data in the form of tables. So what is the use of the entity relationship model? Whatever we are storing the data in the form of table, we are representing that data in the form of diagrammatically. That is called the entity relationship model. Yes, listen once again, I will explain. So what is the difference between the DBMS and the entity relationship means in database management system, we are storing the data in the form of tables. Tables in the proper way, in the managed way. In entity relationship, we are representing the table data in the form of diagram. In the form of diagram. Whatever we are storing the data in the table, that data we are representing in the form of graphically or diagrammatically. That is known as the entity relationship model or ER diagram or ER diagram. Okay, clear? Is it clear now what is entity relationship model? Yes, is it clear? So now we will discuss what are the uses of the ER diagram. What are the uses of the ER diagrams? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So uses of
sir.
the ER diagrams. Yes, listen. Wait for a minute. There is a network problem with me. So these are the uses of the ER diagrams. First one, it helps you to define terms related to entity relationship modeling. So it helps to define terms related to entity relationship modeling. First, it will define the terms. We have some terms related to the entity relationship modeling. We will discuss what are the terms are there, what are the related words are there, what are the some symbols are there. We can discuss what are the symbols are there. So next one is it provides a preview of how all your tables should connect, what fields are going to be on each table. So next one is it will provide the one print. So before printing you need to show the print preview. Like that, it will preview so what tables connected and what type of fields are there in the table, it will preview to you. So there is a one database. In that database, which type of tables are there, which type of tables connected each other, which type of fields they used in the data, those tables it will provide. Next one is it helps to describe the entities, attributes, relationships. It describes, we will discuss what is entity, what is attribute, what is relationship in next class. So ER diagrams are transferable into relational tables, which calls you to build database quickly. So if you maintain one ER diagram, you can convert that ER diagram into the table also. What is the main purpose of the ER diagram? We are representing the table data into the diagrammatically. So same time, you can represent the diagrammatically data into the tables also, vice versa. So table data into the diagrammatical data into the table data. Next one, ER diagrams can be used by the database designers as a blueprint for the implementing the data in specific software applications. So it will use for as a blueprint for implementing the database in a particular software applications. ER diagrams. Next, the database designer gains a better understanding of the information to be contained in the database with the help of ER diagram. See, a designer or uneducated persons also easily understand using the ER diagrams. Sorry, ER diagrams. Okay, so uneducated persons also easily understand about your database based upon the diagrams. So ER diagrams allowed you to communicate with the logical structure of the database to the user also. So using ER diagrams, you can define your logical structure of your database also. These are the uses of the ER diagram. So these are what are the components of the ER diagram? ER diagram. Suppose if you want to build one building, what are the components of the building? Doors, darwajas, and windows, and walls, pillars. These are the components, sand, bricks. These are the components of a particular building. Like that, if you want to build one ER diagram, you can use some components. Some components. What are those components? Now we will discuss. So entities, attributes, relationships. Three components we have. So one is the entity, second one is the attribute, third one is the relationship. So what is meant by the entity here? An entity can be a place, person, object, event, or concept which stores data in the database. The characteristics of entities are must have an attribute and unique key. Every entity is made up of attributes which represents that entity. What is entity? Here entity means any place name, any person name, any object, any event. Any event. Entity means any place name, any person name, any object name, or any event name, or any concept. Any concept that is called the entity. Yes, once again I will explain. Listen carefully. Here entity means any place name, person name, object name, event name, or any concept. So these are the examples of the entity, person. So any employee, student, patient, like this. Place, any store, building. Object means any machine, product, and car. Event means any registration, renewals, sales. Concept means account and course. Consider an organization. Example: manager, product, employee. See. Here, what is the entity? Employee is the entity and department is the entity. Employee is the entity and the department is the entity. We can represent the entity using the rectangular symbol. Using the rectangular symbol. See, in this diagram, employee is the one name and department is the another name. These two are called the entities. These two are called the entities. We can represent the entity with the rectangular symbol. With the rectangular symbol. An university, so this is the example of an entities. An university may have some departments. So all these departments employ various lecturers and offer several programs. So next one is again this entity is the two types: strong entity and the weak entity. Strong entity and the weak entity. So we will discuss what is meant by the strong entity and what is meant by the weak entity. See, strong entity means it will not depend on any, and it is an individual. It is an individual. See here loan is the strong entity and the installment is the weak entity. So loan, if you want to take any personal loan, home loan, car loan, any loan is a independent. It will not dependent on any person. So depending upon loan, you can manage the installment either 12 months, 16 months, 18 months, 24 months, like this. Based upon the if an amount is big amount, loan amount, then installment also will increase 24 months to 48 months, like this. If your amount is less amount, then here your installment months also will decrease. So based upon the loan, your installment is increasing or decreasing. So installment depending upon the loan. That's why installment is the weak entity and loan is the strong entity. So one more best example is the your parent is the strong entity, you are the weak entity. So your parent is not depend on you, but you are depending on your parent. So you are the weak entity, your parent is the strong entity. Say strong entity we can represent the rectangular, weak entity we can represent the double rectangular. So this is the strong entity, this is the weak entity. So I think you understood what is the difference between strong entity and the weak entity. So I mentioned here the some differences between the strong entity set and the weak entity set. And the next one is the attribute. So again we have the some types of attributes, and next one is the relationship. Again we have the types of relationships. So after that we have the some examples. Using this we can build a ER diagram, and we can build the some tables like this. Okay. So we will discuss in the next class. So difference between the strong entity and the weak entity, and what is attribute, what are the types of attribute, what is relationship, what are the types of relationship. So is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we will discuss tomorrow remaining class.